So I'm just going to do a quick walk around of my 2011 Toyota Tacoma. It's the regular cab with a 6-foot bed. I'm not a huge fan of the overland rigs that kind of have everything out on display. I can just throw it in here. I've got practically limo tint in the back, so people can't really look in and see what kind of gear I got. So in here I just keep this big tub just strapped down, keep all my gear in there. Underneath it, I don't know if you can tell, but I have these 2 mattresses just side by side, so my bed's always set up. I don't ever have to take that down. And back behind there you can't see, but I have some traction boards, just like the off-brand Max Tracks, that kind of prop the head of the bed up a little bit, so I can use it kind of like a pillow platform. As far as modifications go, I haven't done a whole lot. There's about a 2-inch lift in the front and a 1.5 inch in the back. There's Bilstein 5100 shocks in all 4 corners, and I did an add a leaf in the rear. The front shocks are on the highest setting, which I think is 2 inches, roughly. When I first did the lift on it, I took it in to be aligned, and it was way out of whack, and it couldn't really be corrected perfectly. I ended up throwing in some Camberg upper control arms. I don't know if you're able to see it in there. It's pretty caked with mud, but they're a lot beefier than obviously the stock control arms. And when I got it back from the alignment shop, everything looked 100%. So for tires, these are the Falcon Wild Peak in 265 75 R16. So they're basically a 32 or so inch tire. They've been good so far. I was on some muddy trails earlier wishing I had a little bit more aggressive of a tire, but for snow and around town, I think they're really good. These ones are the lower rating as far as the sidewall stiffness, which for a truck this size I think is better anyway. You get more flex in the sidewall when you air down. This truck only weighs about 3,700 pounds, and that's without the shell on. The shell weighs about 150 pounds. It has a really low range, so when I pop it in low and I'm up in the mountains, I'm never really searching for more power ever. The gearing fixes that. In the future I would, mostly for street use, like to go with the 488 gears. This comes stock with 410s, just for getting out into traffic and that sort of thing. And off-road, you can never have too low a gearing, especially if I upgrade the tire size at some point. So here's the inside of the cab. Obviously there's not a ton of room in here. There's quite a bit of storage back here. I just have a few things. I got a med kit, fire extinguisher, shovel, different tow ropes, tool bag, jumper cables that I need to put back in the bag. But there's a lot of stuff there that's kind of just, it has a permanent home, and I never really have to think about it back there. One thing I would like to do is put 2 bucket seats in here. I don't like the bench seat at all. But yeah, it's really basic inside. I like the simplicity. I can do everything on my phone. I don't need any in-dash sort of stuff. It's a manual transmission, which for me, I'm not a real pro at off-roading with the manual, but I'm getting better at it. I don't know, I think it's a little bit of a disadvantage if you're not real good at it and you roll back, you can kind of lose your momentum. But other than adding lockers to it and lower gears and bigger tires, there's not much I want to do to it. I'll probably only go up to like 33s, but these Falcons have been pretty good. I don't think the Falcons look very cool. Like, just looking at it through the camera now, they look pretty lame. Slightly larger mud trains, I think, will be my next upgrade here. There really are some huge advantages to having this single cab. The wheelbase is only about 110 inches, which that's what I consider ideal. You don't need to run massive tires, at least on the trails I go to, with a wheelbase that short, and it's just long enough that you can hit some of the obstacles that favor the longer vehicles too. I believe it's about the same wheelbase as the 4Runner. If you look up specs on a lot of the Ultra 4 trucks, a lot of them are running around the 110 inch wheelbase. I think it's ideal for me and the trails I go on. It's not super wide, which is good, since there's a lot of side-by-side trails out here that I can just barely squeeze this on, and if I have to turn around, the turning radius is so good that I can usually not have to back out. It's a cool truck. I wish there were more videos out there of the single cabs going off-road. You see quite a few of the first gen single cabs out there. So this is kind of just for the second gen people to see that people actually do take these out, and they do pretty good. When I first got this truck, it kind of bothered me how slow it was. But then about a year into it, I bought a sport bike, and so anytime I feel like I want to go fast, I'll just take my motorcycle out, and my motorcycle will kill any Raptor, any diesel truck out there. So it doesn't, that kind of scratches my itch as far as that goes. And so I can have a super slow truck, and I can have a motorcycle that's faster than most Ferraris. So I feel like it's kind of perfect for everything I do. In the future, I would like to add maybe some Deaver leaf springs in the rear, bring it up a tiny bit more. I'll probably end up throwing some 33-inch tires on there, probably some KM3s. Today, going up the hills, it was lacking a little bit in the grip department. Obviously, conditions are not ideal right now, but a little more grip would be nice, and I think I'd be okay sacrificing a little bit of on-road comfort and a few MPGs. It gets about 18 miles per gallon combined right now, which I don't consider that bad. It's better than a Tundra, and it's probably on par with the V6 Tacomas. So far I haven't had any major issues with it. I've replaced a CV axle just because the boot was torn. It's really easy to work on. It's stayed pretty rust free, and it's coming on 9 years old, and really hasn't had any issues that I would warn you about. It's a good truck. If you find them on the used market, they're about, I don't know, half the price of a V6 double cab. So if you've wanted to get into a Tacoma but don't want to drop a ton of money, it's a pretty good option. I've had it for 7 years. I bought it back in college, and I always thought, I'll have it now and then I'll upgrade at some point, but 7 years later I could easily upgrade it, but I really don't have a desire to. I plan on keeping it for the long haul, and I'll try to document any further upgrades to it. But yeah, once I lower the gears and throw some bigger tires on, I'll probably hit up Moab this summer. But thanks for watching.